It's all starting to come together for the Oklahoma Sooners.
You are Locked On Sooners, your daily podcast on the Oklahoma Sooners. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
What's up, Sooner Nation? Welcome to Locked On Sooners, and thank you for making Locked On Sooners your first listen every single day. Shout out to all the everydayers out there. Today's episode is brought to you by Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONCollege for $20 off your first purchase. He's Jay Smith. I'm John Williams. And what we saw on Saturday was an offensive line that's starting to come together, Jay. It was the healthiest it's been all season long. And the five guys you expected to be the day one starters for the 2024 college football season were out there playing together.
We're almost there, you guys. We are almost there. No, and on a serious note, yeah, it appears that we're getting healthier, what we've been wanting, right? Branson Hickman came off of the injury report. So did Troy Everett and Jake Taylor. So that's three guys that have come off the list. Jacob Sexton is out there. He's running the guard spot to help Michael Tarkin play with Branson Hickman and make sure all the calls are right. Again, I'm not a big fan of him playing guard. He looks like a tackle playing guard, and I think he's a lot better at tackle, but I digress. We're doing what we need to get the five best players on the field. Fabichi Wewu was starting to improve. He's had some spottiness over the last, I'd say, over the season so far. It's been up and down, but overall, he's probably been the second most solid behind Michael Tarkin. But having Jake Taylor on the right, my goodness, this line looked a heck of a lot better. This is probably the best passing blocking wise we've been this entire season.
Yeah, and Michael Hawkins had time. We talked about it in yesterday's show. There was time to throw. Now, his scrambling ability, his ability to move around the pocket helped a little bit, but he wasn't under a ton of duress. Now, they gave up a couple sacks, but if you do believe Pro Football Focus's grades, it was the highest graded pass blocking grade for a game that they'd had all 5 games. Run blocking, third highest. Now, take some of that with a grain of salt, but still, yeah. I think what we saw in the game was an improved product. It's a group, again, this is the group you expected to start for you when you open the 2024 season. Now you're getting it. You're getting it a couple weeks ahead of Texas. You're getting it going into a bye week. It's starting to come together, man. I listen, is it going to be as good as last year's offensive line was? Maybe, maybe not.
Probably not.
But if it can be just under that, you know what I mean? Like you may not have a first round offensive tackle on this team, but you've got draftable offensive linemen. You just got to keep them healthy and playing together.
Yeah, that's the most important thing is being healthy, right? That's been the problem we've had all season. You go through 3 different centers and you lose Gary and Hatchett the entire year. That's definitely not a good thing. But for the most part, we're getting healthier. And so because of that, we're going to start building continuity. And when you start building continuity, guess what? Things start to work. And I think the biggest thing with this offensive line is it needs to get that nasty streak. They need to go out there and really just get nasty and run over dudes, right? Use the power that they've gained from working out with Schmitty and run dudes over. But I'm going to have to give it to them, right? I like how Jake Taylor's playing at the tackle. I think he held his own, and he's going to have a lot of work coming up next week against Texas. Fabichi Wewu had his best pass blocking game of the season, 80. He was graded at an 80 for Pro Football Focus. We saw Michael Tarkin get a 67 on the run block and a 76 on pass. Like you said, probably the best pass blocking we've seen, third best on the run. But once they were communicating with each other, and you mentioned this yesterday, you started to see them talking, right? You started seeing them pointing to each other out, pointing stuff out. And that's what you got to do, especially in a hostile environment like playing at Jordan Hare. If you're not pointing stuff out and talking, then your line's not going to get continuity. We started to see that. And that's the growth that I was hoping for, is that we would start to open our flipping mouths. Now we're doing it. There's no excuse for us not to get better. Again, the biggest thing at this point, get nasty. Give me a nasty streak. Go out there, run some doofs over, just like y'all did last season.
And I think as they get more confidence with each other, get more comfortable with their health, they'll get more physical. if you're not comfortable with what's happening on either side of you, it's hard to be confident in what you're supposed to do moving forward, because if you can't trust the guy next to you is doing what he's supposed to do and the other guy next to you isn't doing what he's supposed to do, again, it's hard to fully commit to what you're supposed to do because you're not sure if you're going to have help on either side of you. So much about playing offensive line is done as a unit. There's so much that has to happen amongst those 5 guys, and it all has to be in cohesion, in concert together. Otherwise, it's going to look messy. And it had at different times throughout this season because you were just mixing and matching so many different guys. But as you saw, the veterans that you have in Tarkin and Hickman and Wee-Woo out there, and these young, talented 4-star prospects and Taylor and Sexton all now playing on the line together, you're starting to see things come together a little bit more. Again, those guys had more reps together in the fall than they'd had during the season. Yeah. And now it's like, okay, retraining our brains and remembering what things were like and that chemistry that we had together back in the fall. And this was a group that it's a hardworking group. Remember, they went and spent time with Lane Johnson on their own.
They did.
To see if they can get better and better and better and prepare for this season. So I'm confident in where they're heading. Again, it's just a matter of keeping them healthy, but I like what we've seen out of this group. And so much of what Seth Luttrell can do for this unit is help get the ball out quicker in the pass concepts and get downhill more in the run concepts, and if it's going to be outside, just get it outside quick. No slow developing stuff, just hit and go.
No, and that's key. Another thing too is that we're recognizing that the play call has gotten a little bit simpler, right? Now, granted, we'll talk about the running back room probably tomorrow and get a little bit more detail on them. So we'll put a pin in that. It's more of we've simplified what the plays are. We've eliminated basically the entire RPO setup in this, which I think we did actually do a couple RPOs in this one, but I don't think we did much. But by eliminating that, it left less thinking for the offensive line while they're still trying to build, like you said, that cohesion and chemistry that they need. Once you do that, you're going to start seeing them get a lot better. But again, the biggest piece here is I need them to get nastier. I need y'all to start running people over, start tossing people. Now, we did see some pancakes throughout here, right? I saw Michael Tarkin pancake a few dudes on a couple of plays. I was like, oh my goodness. Yeah. He put it through his chest. He wanted that man gone, right? He took that man's soul. But we need more of that, right? If we can get more of that, I think that will help long term. But at the same time, especially going against Texas, I don't think this Texas defensive line is all that good. I think Colin Simmons is really, really good.
It was a year ago.
Oh no, it's not. It's not. But that Colin Simmons kid is really good. So really you got to prepare for him. But at the same time, he's a freshman, right? So you're going to find ways to trick the heck out of him. Now we can start implementing more stuff. We can slowly start integrating additional pieces now that we actually have a healthy unit. I want to see some of the young guys play too, but at the same time, like I mentioned yesterday, you kind of just need to play the best 5 today just so that Michael Hawkins can get a rhythm. And then from there, maybe you can sub in some of the young guys and give them a chance. But right now, we got to do everything we can to make sure that Michael Hawkins is taken care of.
Yeah, your 5 starters, they're going to be playing 60, 65, 70 snaps in a game because you got to have them. You don't really have much confidence in what else you have along the offensive line. So you've got to play those guys. And I think, listen, that Texas game is going to be tough. It's going to be difficult, but they can build on what they did against Auburn. Again, not a great rushing day just from straight running back stats, but it actually looks better when you remove sack yardage from the total. Because then Michael Hawkins had something like 89 rushing yards once you remove the sack yardage.
Yep.
So that's pretty solid. And then again, Javonte Barnes, I mean, it wasn't a great day, but it was a better day than what they'd had against Tennessee, which to me, I'm just looking for progress. I'm looking for better. I'm looking for improved from what they did. And it was, again, Tennessee, a legit dominating defensive front. One of the best in the country, I think.
Yeah, to get.
But Auburn's got some really talented dudes up front too. That is no slouch of a defensive line in front 7 that Auburn's rolling with. So I think, again, we can take what Oklahoma did in that game and feel comfortable with the direction that the offensive line is heading. Another player we can feel comfortable about, that's Michael Hawkins. But what does he got to get better at during the bye to give Oklahoma a chance to beat Texas coming up after that? Game Time has a new feature called Game Time Picks that makes getting tickets for your favorite live events even easier. Game Time Picks filters out all the fluff to show you only incredible deals on great seats so you don't have to waste time searching through thousands of tickets. I love going to the Game Time app. I love going to gametime.co on my desktop and just seeing all the available events that are happening near me. Just type in Oklahoma City or Tulsa, and so many great options pop up for your weekend where you can go to comedy shows, concerts, football games. There's even, baseball games. If you want to go down to, wherever the playoffs are heading, you can find those tickets on gametime.co. They've got curated deals that make it easier to find the best price on great seats. And you get to see what your seat's going to be looking at before you even buy. The lowest price guarantee and event cancellation protection makes Game Time the best place to buy your last minute tickets, and they give you the lowest prices guaranteed. So take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONCollege for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply, but again, create an account and redeem code LOCKEDONCOLLEGE for $20 off. Download Game Time today. What time is it?
Game time.
So Michael Hawkins has had a really, really strong 6 quarters and a drive to his Oklahoma career. He's looked really comfortable. He's looked really confident. He's looked in control of the offense. We talked communication in the last segment with the offensive line. He looked very comfortable communicating with his offensive line. Did not look like a true freshman out there who was in awe of the environment, in awe of his surroundings, flustered at all by being backed up in his own end zone at first and 10 from the 1 yard line.
Yeah.
The dude's built for it, but he's still a true freshman, and he's got a lot of things. I say a lot of things. He's got things he's got to work on as he continues to progress and get better. So Jay, in your mind, as you look at Michael Hawkins' game so far, what's an area that you think he could get better?
First off, I agree with you on a lot of things. He has a lot of things to work on, and that's not a bad thing, right? That means that he's not at his ceiling. That means that he still has growth available for him. But I think the thing that Michael Hawkins can do to truly improve himself and improve his game, I need him to go watch Lamar Jackson, right? Go watch Lamar Jackson in the early part of his career. Go watch a little Colin Kaepernick at San Francisco. Basically watch what Greg Roman was doing with his power run and the ability to lead that power run into some pass games. I hope the offensive staff does that, because what we need to do is mold this team around is leveraging Michael Hawkins' ability to run a lot heavier and make it to where he doesn't get hit, right? Like Lamar Jackson is probably the best example of a quarterback that can scramble and doesn't take big hits, right? Like, I mean, he may do the flips that we've seen Michael Hawkins do into the end zone and throw his body out there. But when he's actually just doing his standard runs, he's not getting hit very hard because he does a really good job of collapsing his body to where people aren't able to get a big hit. I want Hawkins to get better in that capacity only for this season, because as nice of an arm as he has, with the offensive line still trying to build that continuity, he's going to have to do a better job of moving around. So I need him to do a better job of getting out the pocket and extending the play, making the throw downfield, right? I need him to get more comfortable with stepping into the pocket, standing there and launching it and taking that shot. That's probably the one thing Jackson Arnold did really well. He was willing to step into the pocket and throw it on a pass that he was comfortable with and always landed that dime. I need him to do that as well. He's not going to have enough clean pockets going on for the rest of the season with Texas and then South Carolina, Ole Miss, I'd say Missouri for the most part, Alabama, right? Those 5 games right there, you're going to go up against some defensive lines that's going to be truly threatening, or at least have edges that's going to be able to come around and cause some issues. So for Michael, it's going to be about extending the play a la. If anything, he can also go look at the freshman year of Caleb Williams. That's another great season to go watch. All those type of players finding ways to extend the plays and then be able to launch it. The other component to add to that, John, as I'm going very long-winded here, is guiding your wide receivers to the places they need to be when you're extending the play, right? Mm-hmm. Let them know if the pass isn't out in this amount of time, turn around and look, because I'm probably going to need you to go this direction or that direction. I can start waving you. That's going to be the most important part. Waving people to certain areas to where he can throw it to them open. That's very hard on a secondary. No matter how great your coverage is, when the wide receiver starts to do his own impromptu stuff, that throws everything out the window for a corner because they don't know which direction you're truly going to go. If they're pattern matching you, they have an idea of your route. But if you break off and do something weird, I'm like, where the heck is he going? So to me, that's kind of the list of things I think he could do to improve. And that's probably where I think the focus needs to be here in this off week.
Well, and touching on the scramble game, that's one of those things that will come with more time and reps with the wide receivers he's playing with.
Agreed.
Because it takes chemistry. I mean, much like offensive line, it takes chemistry. I go back to like a guy like Tony Romo and Laurent Robinson. Like those two had it down in the scramble game. It's like Laurent Robinson, he had a career year with Tony Romo, had been kind of mid everywhere else. But it was because he had such a great feel for what to do whenever Tony Romo was having to get outside the pocket and scramble that they were creating big plays all the time. So I think that's going to be something that comes, especially as the younger wide receivers gain more confidence and feel like, hey, they feel like they can break off their route because Hawkins is scrambling. If their route concept is calling for them to run a dig or a drag across the field and they see Hawkins scrambling back, at some point, they've got to learn to feel comfortable breaking off what their concept was and coming back, unless there's a crosser that's coming behind them. You don't want to come back and be in that crossing window. But
no,
it's just a comfort thing, and it takes time and chemistry and feeling like you have the onus or the wherewithal or the confidence from the coaching staff to be able to do that. But I think it'll come. I think the other thing is just as Michael Hawkins gets more comfortable and gets more reps under his belt, just trusting what he sees and throwing. There are times, and it's not many, and it's easy to sit up here, from a broadcast view and look at, and even from an all 22 view and look at what Michael Hawkins is, or what the play call is and what the pass concepts look like, and seeing guys running, and you're like, oh, that guy's open or that guy's open. But you don't know what it is like I don't know what it's like sitting back in a pocket when you've got, dudes that are 6'4", 6'6", standing in front of you with other guys that are 6'2" to 6'6" coming after you. And then you're asking them to see a 5'9" Brennan Thompson running a slant. I mean, you're going to miss guys. It's just bound to happen. So I don't want to sit here and say the dude that he's missing guys. What I want to say is just trust it. If you see it, sling it, don't hesitate. I know we've made such a big deal about turnovers all off season for the last 9 months, 10 months. Brent Venables lauded Michael Hawkins for not turning the ball over or putting it in harm's way. And that's fine. But there are going to be times where we're going to need you to throw it. We're going to need you to throw the ball and get this team moving down the field. And you're going to have to just trust what you see and throw the ball and trust that your wide receiver is going to be able to make a play. And that'll come again with experience and time and comfort.
Right. I need you to take some risk, right? I need you to, I mean, I've seen him do it a few times, which again, this is not us saying that he won't take risks because we've watched him take risks. We just need more of those risks to be taken, right? We need you to kind of go out there and I need you to improvise, right? I need you to go out there and be a magician like you've been, but a little bit more, right?
Like I appreciate that he's trying to protect the football. I totally appreciate that.
Yes.
And
totally.
And that's great. We don't want turnovers. That's not what we're saying. It's just more like if you see that JJ Hester's one-on-one like you did this last week, throw the ball. Just throw the dang ball like you did. You see you got a guy streaking across, let it loose, man. Just trust your instincts, Don't play conservative like Jackson Arnold ended up doing and then get outside yourself. Just trust your instincts.
Yeah, don't be afraid to make a mistake here or there, right? Now, I know that your goal isn't to.
Yeah.
Right. And I don't think that he's thinking that. I think that in the way that he's playing his game right now, it appears that he's more so very comfortable with what he's doing. But at the same time, I still see that there's a little bit of happy feet in the pocket. Now I know he's going to improve in that. Like I said, with experience and time, he's going to get better there. To me, the biggest thing is if you can find the way to extend these plays, not really just run up and try to run the ball, but if you can, especially because we know Texas is going to be smart enough to have a spy. Now you will be faster than said spy, but they're going to have a spy. If you can make it to where you can extend these plays and then get it to a wide receiver where they can run it 10, 15 yards, or check it down to the running back. We've talked about that. Check it down to that running back so they can go ahead and run and get that first down. We'll get there, though. I know Michael Hawkins is going to get there, so I have no concerns here. These are just some things that I think that would probably help enhance his game.
Yeah, and probably things that he's talked about with the coaching staff, with his quarterback coach, Mr. Murray, and probably with his dad, Mr. Hawkins, as well. Like they're not ignorant to all the things that we're talking about. But that matchup between Michael Hawkins and probably Anthony Hill is going to be quite intriguing if they choose to let Hill be the spy on Hawkins. That's what I would do if I was Sark, but I'm not
100%.
Or Kwiatkowski. Anyway, defensive line, it's getting better. It's getting better and better every single week.
Hey, NFL fans, you can start the season with a big return on FanDuel, America's #1 sports book. So when you got a hunch in the middle of the game, you can check out the latest stats, view live play-by-play, and so much more on the same page where you place your bets. Like right now, the odds for the Sooners and the Longhorns have hit the wire. The Texas Longhorns are a 14.5-point favorite in this neutral site game, which is very much fascinating, while at the same time, can Oklahoma cover that spread? We'll see. Well, you've got an opportunity to check it out. You'll get started with $200 in bonus bets guaranteed when you place your first $5 bet. So go ahead and put $5 on Oklahoma winning that game. You never know. You might win it. So go check them out there at FanDuel.com.
So the Oklahoma Sooners defensive line has been a strength for this team. One area where it might be getting better is in the pass rush. In particular, we saw this last week. R. Mason Thomas continued to step up. When we had Matt, I'm blanking on PFF guy that we had on last week. Max Chadwick on. Max Chadwick on last week. He talked about good pass rushers, elite pass rushers have pass rush win rates of 20 to 30%. What was R. Mason Thomas's pass rush win rate against Auburn? It's 20%. It was Trace Ford's 25%. Grayson Halton sitting at 16% on the pass rush win rate. R. Mason Thomas had 5 total pressures in that game. You had 18 total pressures as a team against Auburn. Against an athletic Peyton Thorne.
That's crazy. And even if Quinn plays, right? He's got that abdomen situation, and I'm gonna be honest, I don't know if you want him to be getting chased around and taking hits. John, the craziest thing about the way that we've played so far, it's kind of wild that we have 18 sacks this season, John. Crazy. I think we had 23 all of last year, like all of the season.
Yeah,
we've got 18 already, and this is the 5th game of the season. This defense has completely changed, right? Like that was the big complaint I used to heard from people on my channel all last year. We're not getting enough sacks. And so we had Isaiah Cole come on, and he said, yeah, we're not getting the sacks that we want, but what we're doing is by getting our hands up like we have, we're able to disrupt a lot of passes, which has led to a lot of those interceptions, in which we was second in the nation in interceptions with over 20. That's a huge number, right? So we haven't got as many interceptions this year as we did last. This year, we've only got 5 picks in comparison, but we've also caused more fumbles. And so I talk about with some of the tackling, if you notice the way the defensive line tackles, the edges, the D tackles, even the linebackers, when they come in, they all swipe down on their hit. So it's a boom whenever they're tackling, but they're still wrapping up. So what that does is it slaps at the ball while also making sure that they're not missing the tackle and doing arm tackles, and they're going straight through the guys. That's where some of those fumbles are coming from. That's where those loose balls are coming from. The Trace Ford fumble where he came around on Nico Iamaleava. He came around and he slapped down immediately on his wrist, and the ball flies out. Mm-hmm. We're doing a lot of that, John, and that to me is probably the biggest strength of this defensive line is they're getting a combination. They're hitting people, they're slowing people down, and they're causing turnovers. I'm thoroughly impressed with what Chavis and Todd Bates have got going on this year.
Yeah, and Zach Alley's pressure packages have been really, really nice. I mean, how many times have we seen a blitzer come free and get an opportunity, whether it's Robert Spears Jennings or Kendall Dolby before he got injured? You've seen several times where a blitzing defensive back has come unblocked, or a blitzing, even in the run blitzes.
Right.
Like Danny Stutzman had a couple this past game where, or at least one, maybe it was early in the game, and they dialed up a run blitz. Maybe it was that first series of the game. They dialed up a run blitz and absolutely stuffed whatever rush attempt that they had. You said 18 sacks through 5 games. And I know a lot of people would sit there and be like, oh, the Temple game, they had a bunch of sacks, and they played Houston and Tulane, blah, 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 blah. Well, against Houston, I don't remember if they registered a sack. And if they did, they did. No, I don't know. It was maybe late in the game if they did.
I think we got it late in the game, but I'm going to verify real quick.
But 40%, 38.8% of their sacks have come in the last 2 weeks. So against Nico and Tennessee and against Auburn, you've had 7 of those 18 sacks. That's a really strong number. So
2 sacks against Houston. We had 2 sacks. That was by Dominic got his first one. I remember that. And Grayson Halton got one as well.
Yeah.
So we got 2 sacks.
You had several at the end of the game against Tulane, but you had 3 last week against Nico, or not last week, but the week before, and week 4 against Nico. You had 4 this week against Peyton Thorne. And so, I think your pass rush is starting to kind of hit its stride as you get into the most significant part of your season. So much of what Oklahoma wants to be about is stopping the run on the early downs, getting teams into 3rd and long situations where guys like R. Mason Thomas and Grayson Halton can just get after the passer. They don't have to worry about playing the run. They can just rush to a spot and put pressure on the quarterback. If Oklahoma is able to do that moving forward, it's going to make it really, really tough to throw on this team and to beat them, because they have some legit pass rushers. And R. Mason Thomas, I mean, that dude's got a chance to turn himself into a top 100, if not a top 50 pick in the NFL draft because of his traits. All he needs is the production to go along with it. And all he's needed to be was healthy to get that production. And now we got a healthy R. Mason Thomas, and he's starting to show that he's got that elite ability to rush the passer.
Yeah, and we're right now tied for 6th in tackles for loss at 40 in the country, right? This last year we were tied for 11 in the season with 98. We're at 40 now, and we may finish the season with over 100 easily, right? 40 in 5 games, 8 of those per game, and we've got how many games left? We've got 7 games left. So that's an additional, 50? If we stay on average, that's another,
56.
Another 56. That puts us at about 96. I think we can up that number and finish the season over 100. That's my guess.
And
I think we can.
That's assuming you only average 8 tackles for
right.
loss. Yeah.
It's only if you average 8. And the way that we play, we've done a really good job of reading what the offense is bringing to us, and we're getting back there to get stops in the backfield. Yep. I mean, we did well in that position even against Auburn, right? I didn't think that – I thought the defense played okay in that game, but overall, I mean, when you really look at it, besides some of the explosive plays that we haven't allowed too many of, but we've allowed it 1, which to me 1 is too many. We finished with 8 tackles for loss in that game, right? Mm-hmm. Auburn only had 4, which that honestly surprised the heck out of me. I thought they had more. It felt like we weren't going anywhere. They were just stopping us at the line and we were falling for 1 yard, but we got 8 in that game. And we were really pushing them back and making it really tough on them, even though they were still running. They ran for in that game, about 144 yards combined. Mm-hmm. That run defense, John, that line is doing it.
And that's going to be what's key against Texas is you're going to give up some explosives to that team. They're really, really good with Isaiah Bond and Matthew Golden. That's a really, really good passing offense, group of wide receivers, Jonte Cook. I mean, they're really good. Limit those explosives, slow the run game down, put them in situations where either Arch or Quinn have to throw from 3rd and 7+. And I like our chances. Easier said than done, but with the way Oklahoma's been playing the run this year, they're going to put Texas in some bad spots. And we saw a year ago, Oklahoma's defense able to put them in bad spots, force turnovers, and that ultimately is what helped them win the game. So, and this is a better Oklahoma defense than what we had a year ago, right?
Much better.
Much better. And we still got quite a few days to sit and talk OU Texas. We'll get into that more as we go through the week. And next week, we'll continue to just kind of give you a brief just feel for how we're feeling about each position group as we go through the bye week, kind of do a little bit of a Oklahoma Sooners reset. So make sure you subscribe to Locked On Sooners wherever you get your podcasts. We're free and available on all podcast platforms and on YouTube. Hit that notification bell and that subscribe button to let you know when new episodes drop. Follow Jay at Unfair Sports, myself at John 9 Williams. Check out his channel, Unfair Sports. Check out my work over at Sooners Wire, SoonersWire.com. Follow the show at Locked On Sooners on Facebook, X/Twitter, TikTok, Instagram, wherever you like to be on social media, and share it with your friends, share it with your colleagues, tell people about Locked On Sooners and tell them to subscribe to the show. But until next time, he's Jay Smith. I'm John Williams. We'll talk to you then. Boomer.
Sooner.